legal to Alberta, and back to one car.
But it's at least a 10-hour journey out to the rig, which may not still be standing. Now, a double danger is becoming clear, once again from the riser pipe below the surface. The area around the Deepwater Horizon is littered with undersea oil and gas pipes from other rigs. These pipelines will be vulnerable if the burning rig breaks loose and drifts out of control.
If the riser was to separate from the wellhead, and that concern is twofold, now you have a rig which is going to continue to burn as it drifts across the Gulf of Mexico with a 5,000-foot tail riser dragging across the bottom like a big anchor, which could damage any number of subsea pipelines and other assets that could cause a catastrophe. And now you've got an oil spill where before you had near complete combustion of the oil that was coming out of this rig. Now you would have no combustion at all in an oil spill, catastrophic consequences of the worst kind you can imagine. One that you can't stop, one you can't access, one 5,000 feet below the ocean.
Engineers using the remotely operated vehicles are still trying to close the blowout preventer valve and shut down the flow from the oil well.
None of us said it, but we all had a very sinking feeling in our hearts that if they didn't get the oil secured, if that shear cut of the riser was unsuccessful and it went on for much longer, that our chances were rapidly decreasing that we'd be able to save the vessel.
At the salvage company's headquarters in Houston, new specialists continued to arrive. The team are trying to work out how to tow the rig back to port once, or if, the fire can be put out.
What it looks like is that the well is feeding the fire. As long as the fire is raging like this, that you can't do anything.
The failure to stop the flow of oil is starting to make those involved in the rescue realize an even bigger disaster might be on the way.
The potential for a major disaster is always there. Oh, you know immediately that this is major. That's for certain. Anything with explosions and fires in the middle of the night on an oil rig or a ship or any type of situation, you know it's major.
On shore, along the entire Gulf Coast, residents and fishermen from 4 American states are also beginning to fear the worst.
This is the gateway right here to the Gulf. It's bad on the environment, you know, like for the fish, the shrimp, the crabbing. It's bad for the fishermen. It makes their living doing that.
36 hours after the first explosion, time runs out.
At about 10 o'clock in the morning, for about 15 minutes, you know, you really heard a lot of really loud noises. So we knew it was something was going wrong.
As we were combating the fire, we could hear the rig creaking and groaning and settling. And during that period of time, there was multiple explosions, some of which was propelling debris up in the air. Just listening to this rig, you were listening to a ship die.
You hear like cranes falling down and decks collapsing and everything.
At that point in time, you know, I issued a warning to all the firefighting units to be ready for emergency escape.
Then when at 10:15 the list started changing, you started to see it changing rapidly.
And from my vantage point on the stern, which was directly an eye shot of the lowest point, we could see the aft starboard corner starting to slowly drop into the sea.
It was about 5 or 7 minutes before the complete structure went down.
We started to back off, and by 10:22, she was gone. She slipped under the waves.
That's a pretty indescribable moment. You see it going down after, these vessels have been fighting the fire for 36 hours and, everybody doing their best to save this.
When you lose a vessel, it's a somber moment. You feel the loss. You feel the failure. I think, unfortunately for us, we were fighting a losing battle from the start.
You're in the Situation Room. Happening now, disaster upon disaster in the Gulf of Mexico as a burning oil rig sinks, raising fears of an environmental nightmare.
When the Deepwater Horizon sank almost a mile to the ocean floor, there was no sign of any oil coming from the wellhead or the riser pipe. But the fire from the sunken rig continues to burn off the oil still on the surface of the sea. And the salvors are becoming concerned that the drama is not yet over, and that the well might not be fully sealed.
It's in 5,000 feet of water. Of course, it's got the potential to be catastrophic, but truthfully, I don't know to what degree.
The salvage team can play no further part in the rescue. Their job ended when the rig sank. For all the offshore specialists, it's a depressing moment. Some of them turn back before they even reach the scene.
It's very sad to see such a piece of equipment go under. So there's no point in going out there.
The Coast Guard are next to face depressing disappointment. 3 days after the explosion, their search for survivors is called off. The 11 missing men are presumed to have perished on the platform during the initial explosion.
You think about the victims' families. You have to maintain professionalism and make sure that you are doing your job well and stuff, but it's impossible to separate yourself from the human aspect of what's going on, the seriousness that there were 11 people unaccounted for.
As the enormity of the tragedy is still sinking in, crude oil from the depths of the Gulf starts to appear on the surface, forming a spill that quickly turns into the biggest offshore oil pollution emergency America has ever seen.
Upon exiting the channel, we'll be heading on a course of 260.
Once again, the Coast Guard are back in the front line, as an armada of ships rushes to try to stop the oil from devastating the entire area. This is a Coast Guard cutter, the Oak, a state-of-the-art multi-purpose ship that is one of many Coast Guard vessels diverted to the crisis.
This has been designated as a spill of national significance. The latest imagery seems to show it somewhere in the area of 30 to 40 miles offshore.
As the spill spreads rapidly westwards, the Oak is trying to find the leading edge. When it proves difficult to spot the edge of the oil from sea level, planes are deployed to track it and guide the Coast Guard vessels to the right place.
Very good. Just give us a call if you sight any oil that the technicians believe is recoverable.
We're gonna slow down, come DIW, and we're gonna put the arm out.
The Oak is fitted with special equipment that can remove crude oil from the surface of the sea.
Fast heaving! Never done this before. We've just done annual training courses, so there's gonna be a few growing pains, hopefully.